Good morning, friends. It's Nancy, and it's Saturday, and I've got big plans for the weekend. So this is a bit of a long story, so settle in. Well, first of all, I'm going to be working on a project that I saw on Instagram yesterday and immediately saved. And then when I got home from work yesterday, I watched the video and immediately shared the link with my crafty crush, Catherine. And so now I'm going to share it with you. So this was a project, it was made on a video yesterday, Friday, by 7 Plaza. I'll put a link in. All right. My version is going to be slightly different. She used 2 postcards. I'm only going to use 1 postcard. We'll just see how it all works out. So let me tell you my story. I've had some trouble with my tongue, apparently. I've had quite a week. If any of you are local, you know about the homeless encampment that has, over the last 3 months, I guess, has really become quite obvious. Right downtown Kitchener. When I was there 2 weeks ago, I counted 60 tents, and I'm estimating about, why aren't you cutting? I'm estimating about 100 people, but that was 2 weeks ago. Hey, this is almost perfect. Just needs a little bit of a hair off. So this is a difficult subject, and not everybody's going to agree with me. But I'm going to talk about it anyway. Homelessness. I'm always shocked when I discuss the subject with people, because in my head, I think everybody thinks like I do. And then I'm always really surprised when they don't. I think, what's wrong with you? Why wouldn't you think like I do? So I just have to accept that people have different values than me, have different experiences than me, have come from a different life than me. And that's valid. So I went to visit the encampment so I could see if there was any services I could add to the already quite large community response. Like every time I'm there, there's just ordinary community members dropping off food, dropping off clothes, and other social services providing kinds of help that they can provide. Okay, I think that's going to be good. Okay. And so I asked, what's going on here? What do you need? You need an entire shift in the way we treat people in this society, but what items would make your existence a little more comfortable? And it was very practical things. Water carriers. Tents to replace the ones that have been ripped, burned. There was a fire there. And bedding, sleeping bags, coolers, those kinds of things. And then they showed me where a tent had actually gone up in flames, and nobody was hurt, thank goodness, but the tents are packed side by side, and it could have been a real tragedy. I said, what about fire extinguisher? Oh, that would be a really great idea, fire extinguishers. Okay. So here's the thing. I was so disturbed by what I saw, and I immediately went out and gonna make sure this will slide in. I immediately went to Canadian Tire and bought some water carriers, and yeah, I think that's going to be all right. Took them back, and they were snatched up quickly. So I talked to my colleagues. Some of them brought in some camping equipment that was just moldering away in their shed they hadn't used. So I took that, and that was snapped up. One of my colleagues' churches donated some supplies. So hopefully these folks can get through the next couple of weeks, months, and with the help of other services here in the community, get housed safely and securely. So one of the things I did was post a message on my neighborhood's Facebook group asking, if you've got some things hanging around, let me know. I'll come get them and don't take them over to the tent city. And somebody, some kind Christian soul, I'm sure. I shouldn't have said that. That was rude. Told me that he would never donate anything to people, homeless people. They're just lazy. They need to get up, get a job, pull themselves up by their bootstrings, kind of thing. And I know he's a minority. And to be perfectly honest, sometimes I get really frustrated because I think sometimes the choices people are making is really making their situation worse. But, I'm speaking from a position where, I have family, I have friends, I have an education, I have a healthy body, I have a mostly healthy mind. I'm sure some people would dispute that. So it's easy for me to say, what you're doing is crazy. You need to do X, Y, Z. But some people need a lot more support than that. I'm going to stitch around this. Hold on. Okay. So in general, yes, there's a ton of mental illness. And with that, also a ton of substance use. And some very, very, very sad cases. Situations that would break your heart. One gentleman that I visited last Friday asked me for some help with a legal issue. So I went back. It was the end of the day Friday, and I said, well, I'll come back and see you. So on Monday I went back, and he was no longer there. I asked around the other people who were living there, because they know each other. I mean, they're neighbors, right? And they said, oh, he's moved to this other encampment that's not as explicit in your face, a little more hidden. So I went to visit him there. And he said, oh, Nancy, I didn't think I'd ever see you again. And that just broke my heart and reminded me that, you know, these are people who aren't used to people saying, I'm going to do this, and then be able to trust them that they're going to do it. They've been let down by their families, their communities. I know it's difficult to trust. And when so much of your energy is just going into living, you're just existing, it's really difficult. Anyway, older gentleman, older than me, and definitely aged because of his situation. He's been homeless for many years. He was living in a shed for a bit, and then I'm not sure what happened to the shed situation, but there you go. So he's in a tent with his dog. And that's a common theme you'll see with people who are living rough. They can't go into the shelter system because they have animals. And they don't want to leave their pets. And really their pets are the only person that they can depend on. You know, always there for them and through thick and thin. Anyway, he had been sick through the night and, you know, unzipped his tent, vomited in the grass, and I said, how are you feeling today? He says, well, I think I'm not quite as queasy as I was, but I'm hungry and I'm thirsty. He had a water carrier, half filled with water. He said, I'm not drinking that water because somebody's poisoning it, which is clearly part of his delusion. And I said, how about I go get you some water that's in bottles so you know it's not been tampered with. Okay. So I ran over to the closest Shoppers Drug Mart and I got a case of water, and I got him some ginger ale and bananas. I thought that would go okay on his queasy tummy. Got some dog food. Went back. And you know, so for one day he was cared for. He had an example of people in his community caring for him and wanting to see him do well. But that's one day. He's almost a senior citizen. He's the loneliest guy. He has no one. He's so sad, so sad. But as you know, I work for a nonprofit agency. We're not well funded. I'm certainly not well paid. I can't afford to be purchasing tents and things out of my own salary. So I thought this weekend we would just have a big old FUNdraiser here on YouTube. So I got this idea from Corey Dahman, who made tags and sold them. I think she sold them 2 for $5 online, and they went towards purchasing books for her classroom. And I think she did really well. So I'm going to do something similar today, but I'm going to make a piece of ephemera. And I will sell the one piece of ephemera plus the one made piece of ephemera, and then an additional something. So, you know, maybe another postcard, maybe a letter, maybe an invoice, something that's genuinely old. And you know, I got tons of old stuff last week. So for example, something like this for $5. If you want to donate an extra buck or two, I'm happy to do so. I will mail these out this weekend because I want to stay on top of things and I want to get the money going right away, so that I can use it to help out my friends at the encampment. And I will list these I was going to say I'll list these on my Kofi channel account, and that way you can make the purchase, and if you want to make it an additional donation, you can do both at the same time. Lyman Powell, I wonder if he's famous. I'll have to look that up. So another thing, I have 2 journals that have been in my Etsy shop for a while. One is an Anna Green Gables, the other is the chocolate one. Let me just grab those. So there's the chocolate one. And here's the Anne of Green Gables one, and it comes with this packet of ephemera. So I will link to the flip-through of both of these journals, and if this is something that you are interested in purchasing, all of the proceeds after postage for shipping is paid will go to Tent City. This one, again, I will share the link, and this is on my Etsy, and so have a look at that. If I have no takers by tomorrow, I will reduce the price tomorrow. I know this one's an odd shape, but I love it so much. It belongs on a coffee table. So these are in Etsy. Just know that once I've paid for the shipping, everything else is going to go to Tent City to buy somebody basic necessities. Basic necessities. Let's do another one while I talk about homelessness some more. So, I am going to trim this a fraction of an inch because this is a trade card for a male course in horsemanship. So it's just a snippy snip narrower. So let's talk about some myths. One of the biggest myths is that you know, there's lots of social service safety nets, such as welfare and disability benefits that people can access. There's no reason for people to be homeless. This one I'm going to put a paper clip on, like Margareth did. I guess I'll do a black one. And it's simply not true. So a person who is homeless in Ontario receives less than $300 a month for street allowance. If they are housed, the maximum they can receive on general welfare, which we call Ontario Works, is $733. That $733 is for rent, food, clothing, transportation, phone. You know, who doesn't need a phone if you want to? Yeah, like all of our doctor's appointments right now are all on the phone. So that's how we access healthcare. I think that's going to be okay. And rent on an apartment, just a plain old apartment, you're looking at $1,100, $1,200, $1,300. If you can find it, because the housing market is it's crazy right now. Okay. Even a person who's receiving disability benefits, so Ontario Disability Support Program, that person's maximum is $1,169. So unless you can get into rent-geared income housing, social housing program, you're not going to find sustainable shelter. The wait list for a single person for housing right now is somewhere between 7 and 15 years. And there's all kinds of rules. So you have to update your file every year. Well, if you're living rough, how do you get mail? How do you remember every year I need to report in to this agency? So it's largely unavailable to the folks I'm talking about. I have never, That's a lie. I have met one person once who wanted to be homeless. I don't know if that was her reality or not, but that's what she said. So I should have sewed this first and glued this in first, but I didn't. Let me sew. Okay, that's done. Anyway, so the causes of homelessness, they really come down to what I would call, well, I don't call it, it's a term, a term that was invented by somebody else. They're called ACEs, actually. So, oh my goodness, adverse childhood experiences. So a great deal is related to trauma that these adults experienced as children. And I did this experiential questionnaire with a large group at a training event a couple years ago with lawyers, and their ACE score on average was 2, which meant, that they hadn't experienced the loss of a parent before they were an adolescent, and that could be through death, through incarceration, through abandonment. I can give you a link and you can read more about adverse childhood experiences if you like to. And, but I would say the folks that are in the encampment have experienced multiple adverse childhood experiences, and that trauma has done physiological change to their brains. And this is just science. I'm not making this up. I have to use a needle to pull that one through so that it's completely covering. My bobbin ran out there. That was a pain. And I also want to give you a link to an article called $1 Million Murray. And it's written by Malcolm Gladwell, who I'm sure you've heard of. And this was an article that was in the New Yorker a few years back. This is required reading of all of my social work students. So I'll share that. I got a lot to share below. And that will, maybe give you some more insight into how I feel about the situation and how I think the situation should be approached. But the political will is just not there. So we have to deal with huge problems in a very piecemeal sort of way. So the way I'm dealing with it is crafting and sharing my crafts with you. It's got this little hole up here. I think I'm going to put a ribbon through there. If I can find something this like Tiffany blue color, that would be ideal. Let's get some ink first. So I think The water carriers I got were, I think they were $19 a piece. I can get cheap tents at Walmart for like a 2-man tent for $40 or something, but you can't stand up in it, number one. Number two, these people have all of their entire life's possessions with them. And sometimes they're sharing their tent with a partner or a pet. So those aren't ideal. So a tent, $150, $200. I haven't priced a cooler, but I imagine they're in the $50, $60 range. I've been contacted by another agency called Change the Flow. I'd never heard of them before. Well, maybe I had. But I wasn't very familiar with their work. Anyway, local agency that is, it wants to bring awareness to the importance of equity and dignity. And what they're specifically focusing on is women in poverty who can't afford sanitary products, pads and napkins and tampons and that sort of thing. So a lady named Anne Marie, I don't know her, but somebody referred her to me, made a donation to Change the Flow, and Change the Flow is putting together what they call period packs. Yeah, there's an ant on my table. Well, 'tis the season. So I'm picking those up on Monday. They're each pack contains 5 pads and 5 tampons. And I think they're all like green bamboo sort of thing. And I think that's going to be really important for some of the ladies who are living here. The men seem to focus pretty well. Focus. I didn't mean that. To function pretty well. They're coping. But the women, I mean, they can't even hardly form a sentence. They are so downtrodden. They look and move like zombies. I tried to engage a couple of them in conversation. You know, do you have a minute to talk to me? No, I don't. See if we can find some ribbon. Maybe this one? It always has to be at the bottom, right? No, that's too green now. Maybe, that's really green. Maybe I'll just get the cream color after I get this all mashed back in here. This is how I store my seam binding, because I want it wrinkly. And I have all the cool colors in one jar, I have all the warm colors in another jar, and the third jar is neutrals. So here's my neutral jar. Oh, there's a lot more in there than I got. Like spaghetti. So I'm appreciative of the donation. You know, anything that will contribute to the dignity of a person. I'm going to try my double bow thing again. Things like tarps, sleeping bags, backpacks, those kinds. Oh shoot, that's not gonna work either. What if I put this on like a big, do I have a big darning needle to get through that teeny tiny hole? I have one more idea. This doesn't work. I'm going to use a piece of tape. There, I can poke that through like that. Okay, we're going to tie a bow, people. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of glue. put that clip on it so that it dries. And I'm just going to put a little bit of this glue on the edge. All right. So this one I'm going to add as a floating pocket, not a pocket, but a journaling card. So it can be journaled on back and front. And in the journal that I'm working on right now. And this one will be one of the objects, one of the pieces of ephemera that is available on Kofi, and will go towards supporting efforts at the tent city. So for example, you would get this and maybe a tea card, an authentic 100-year-old tea card. It's going to be something old. It's not going to be something I made. It's going to be something old. So while this video processes, I'm going to get together a few more pieces. Some you've seen because I've made them in previous Tuesdays on my take out the trash things, and some will be new to you. So links are all below. What did I say I was going to talk about? I don't know. All right. You take care. And thank you so much for your support. I really hope that I don't see a bunch of negative comments under this video. If I do see comments that are negative, just know I'm going to leave them there so that the entire community can be aware of your genuine thoughts and feelings about how we treat the most vulnerable in our community. Just know that. So maybe that will dissuade somebody from telling me their opinion. All right. It would be a waste of time because I'm not going to change my mind. I'm old. Take care. Bye-bye.